Well, it wasn't how the Rockwall-Heath Hawks went in the season, but fear not, the Rockwall-Heath Hawks are back in the postseason, despite losing this past week 45-42 at the hands of the Lufkin Jaguars. Hello, everybody. Chris Curtis here for the Rockwall Sportscenter Heath Hawk update. Of course, joined by my partner all season long, Steve Deere. And Steve, not the kind of game that we kind of really expected to happen, maybe a shootout. I thought the clock was going to be ran. They were going to run the clock out on this game, but it was a dogfight. They both wanted to win the game. Of course, Skeet Horn played for the perfect district season, and of course, Rockwall-Heath was playing the spoiler to get some momentum going. But you look back at this game, and it's something that you, despite losing the game, which you don't want to do, a lot of momentum for Rockwall-Heath going to the playoffs. They figured some things out. They got some kinks maybe worked out. A game that you need to work those kinks out in with nothing to play for.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. We talked before the game here, Stan and I, about what do we want to see in the game. Certainly did not want to go into the playoffs with a bad taste, similar to what we had coming back from Longview the week before. We wanted to see a team that had pride, a team that was willing to fight, team that was able to give Horn a fight on Friday night, and that's exactly what they did. Number 8 team in the state. We were wondering what Horn would bring also. Nobody had anything to play for other than pride, because all the playoff seedings were already predetermined prior to the game. So we were wondering, okay, what's Horn going to bring in here? Both teams really wanted it Friday night. We were talking about this earlier. Both teams really wanted that victory Friday night. Horn wanted to finish district undefeated. Heath wanted a win, knock off potentially the number 8 team in the state, and give Horn their first loss and to get some momentum going to the playoffs. Horn got what they wanted, finished the district undefeated. I think to a certain extent, Heath got what they wanted also. They played toe-to-toe with a very, very good Horn team, had every opportunity to win that game. It didn't go their way down the stretch. Horn's got the best quarterback that they've seen all year in Givens. He's a great one. He's going to be really good, only a junior. But what Heath did was, to a large degree, maybe washed away the bad taste in their mouth from Longview, established themselves as someone that, yes, we can play with the best, and we just proved it here on the field. Almost came away with a victory, but I think they did, like you said, clean up some stuff, reestablish a little bit of mojo, a little bit of swagger, some confidence heading into the playoff over in Lufkin this week.
Of course, Billy and I talked about this on the Yellow Jacket update. As far as this season in general, it's been a very weird, odd season. Maybe not something that we look back in August, what we all thought was going to happen. But for Rockwall-Heath, very impressive. They started out 4-1. They obviously lost their last 2 ball games. Talk about the season in general and how things have kind of shaped up. Is everything you expected and more, maybe less, or is this probably right on par where we thought they were going to be?
No, it's probably not where I thought they would be, and attrition has kind of played a part down the stretch here. They're missing a couple of key players, especially on the defensive side. Normally Heath's defense doesn't allow 45 points. Doesn't allow however many points. I've forgotten it already that they allowed at Longview. They don't allow the rushing yardage that they have the last several weeks against the likes of Tyler and Longview and Horn, and some injuries up front and just some things going on the defensive side has contributed to that. So I think that's probably been the biggest surprise to me down the stretch here, is the Heath defense isn't playing up to the level that they were right now earlier in the year. Hopefully they're able to pick it back up and fix a few things going to Lufkin. But overall, hey, listen, when you're in this district, and Coach Moss talks about it all the time, possibly the hardest 6A district in the state, some people may argue with that, but it's certainly up there. When you finish 3rd in the district out of how many, 8 teams, I think it is, 8 teams. When you finish 3rd, you're still ranked after everything going on. You're still ranked, as according to the Dallas Morning News, 17th or 18th in the area as of this morning. You still got a pretty darn good team, and someone that Lufkin better not take lightly, or Heath will jump up and bite them.
Of course, a lot of local media is giving Rockwall-Heath a good chance in this ball game against Lufkin. Looking back as far as this goes, it's the first time Rockwall-Heath has been to playoffs after a 1-year absence. Of course, the last 2 years, fairly convincing by-district win against Newman Smith in the previous districts, how it realigned this year. Obviously, a little tougher, but it won't be a give-me this week. Of course, it's this Friday night, 7:30 at Lufkin. Talk about Lufkin. It's a 12-6A team. It's not going to be an easy game to win by any stretch of the imagination. But if you want to be the best and you want to be the best, you got to go play the best. And Lufkin is one of the better teams, especially in the East Texas region.
I was just watching the 30 for 30 documentary on Ric Flair last night. And what did he always say? If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. Well, that's the way it is this week. If there are no easy gimmies for the most part once you get into the playoffs. Lufkin, think Longview, one of those East Texas towns. There's not a whole lot else going on in town, so they all turn out for Panther football. It's going to be that kind of an electric atmosphere where the entire town's going to be there, and so Heath is going to have a bunker mentality and all be in it together here, fight together against some stacked odds against them, quite honestly. But Lufkin is a good team, came in second in their district. The only district loss I had was the Woodlands, which is one of the top-ranked teams in the state. And then they also lost at Longview and got beat pretty good at Longview earlier in the year, first game of the year, as a matter of fact. It's kind of a strange team in that they either seem to win big or lose big. They lost both to Longview and Woodlands by a pretty hefty margin, 20-something points in both cases. Their closest other game, they beat Tyler at Lufkin by 10 points. Everything else has been a pretty convincing win by 3 touchdowns or more. So pretty interesting. They either get beat handily or they win pretty big. And I don't know how they would do in a tight game because they haven't been in a tight game. So it would be interesting to see if Hawks are able to keep it tight and it's a dogfight in the fourth quarter, what will happen, because the Hawks have been in some dogfights Friday night. They have been in some tight games, some dogfights. Look at Rockwall. We know what Heath can do in that kind of situation. It'd be really interesting to see what Lufkin could do if it comes down to that Friday night.
Speaking of Ric Flair, hopefully there's a lot of wooing going on Friday night. There you go, right there. Hopefully we'll see a lot of that on the broadcast this Friday night. Steve, kind of talk about maybe one of the players that surprised you. I know before we went on, it was talking Tyrus. Tyrus has been one of the stars of this team. Really kind of emerged last season, and I really expected a big season from him. And he's really come out and he's really played full force for the Rockwall-Heath Hawks. Seems like every big play. Somehow Tyrus is involved. Kind of talk about how his swagger this year, his play, has really helped the Rockwall-Heath Hawks this season.
Listen, Tyrus is one of those guys that you get the ball in his hands in space, and he is virtually impossible to catch up to. He does things with the ball. Anybody that listens to our broadcast knows one of the mantras that we've had in the second half of the year here has been give us more Tyrus. Get the ball in Tyrus' hands, because when he gets his hands on the ball, he does something magical with it more times than not. He's not a big guy. He gets knocked down, and some of the hits that he took on Friday night were pretty massive hits, and he was slow getting back up, but then he pops back over into the huddle, and he's ready to go again. And next time he gets his hands on the ball, he's doing something with it again. We were talking to Billy, and he said, man, Tyrus is the one on the Heath team that against Rockwall, he seems to kill us every year. Love seeing the ball in Tyrus' hands. There's some other guys on offense that do something. You always think about Garrett and Tanner. Jackson Sally, anytime the ball is in his hands, he's doing something good with it. There are some playmakers on the offensive side. Maybe diversify and spread it out just a little bit more is something I hope to see this Friday night. But, Jackson, Tyrus, those guys, when the ball gets in their hands in space, they're able to do something magical with it. Flip side on defense, there's a couple of guys over on defense that have really stepped up and done well this year. It seems like every time we're calling out a name on defense, Dawson Miller's in the conversation. He's in on every tackle, man. He's all over the field. He's playing outstanding football. Undersized for a linebacker, but you just can't one of those guys that finds his way through the holes and to the ball carrier, and he makes great plays on the ball all the time. Kendall Jimerson's playing good on the defensive side. A lot of good players stepping up in the absence of some players that are out injured on defense. They're fighting. They're scratching. They're clawing. They're doing their best. A little bit shorthanded in some cases, but Dawson kind of stands out to me. You asked about surprise players. He's been a nice surprise this year too.
And hopefully the big fight continues. Of course, Rockwall-Heath is back in the postseason after a one-year absence. They will take on Lufkin this Friday night, 7:30, over there at Lufkin High School. So any final thoughts? A very exciting time. Playoff football is back for Rockwall-Heath. Of course, if you need a playoff shirt or any playoff gear, come by here, to Rockwall Sports, and of course they sponsor our show every week. So we're excited for them to have that. Of course, you can go online or you can come up here to the store and order those T-shirts right now. So any final thoughts? We need a big crowd on hand for Friday. I know it's going to be tough with the holidays coming up. It's a Friday night. Maybe get out of school early. I'm sure Bradford might write some notes like kids out of school. A little early for that, but of course exciting for football. It's a nice 2.5, 3-hour drive. So make your plans, get out there and cheer on this Rockwall-Heath football team because they are a darn good football team at the end of the day. Yeah,
they're going into the Lions' den, or in this case, the Panthers' den, I guess. Like I said, you get out to these East Texas towns, and there's nothing else going on in town, so everybody turns out. This is the social event for the town Friday night, especially when it gets to playoff time. It's really kind of unfortunate that it has to be on Friday night. I know Coach Moss was pushing for a Saturday game to allow the fans to get out there a little easier to help get the support out for the kids, but lost a coin flip, and so the Lufkin coach called it for a Friday night kickoff. Kids need your support. Get out there. Dark side, show up out there. Let's get some carpooling, let's get some traffic going between Rockwall and Lufkin, and let's get out there and support them. They need somebody in black and red over on their side of the field cheering them on and help giving them some support too.
I'll see if I can get Bradford to write those notes. I'm sure he will for his school. Of course, Bradford, the head principal over there at Rockwall-Heath.
Only if you can bring a verified ticket that you were actually at the game and maybe a tweet from the game or something like that. Then you get an excused early dismissal. I think
we do. It's Thanksgiving week, right? I mean, everything's done Friday afternoon, right? So, anyways, this Friday night, 7:30, of course, from the Panther Den, it's Rockwall-Heath versus Lufkin. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be an exciting one. Rockwall-Heath looking for their third by-district championship in 4 years. Hopefully they get that done here on Friday night. So until then, we'll see you there. And don't forget, it's www.rockwall.isd. I have my Texas twang right there to follow Steve and Stan, of course, on the broadcast. And, of course, we'll be there as well, getting you interviews, tweeting, and doing everything we can to keep you updated on the Rockwall-Heath's big playoff game. So we'll see you next Monday, win or lose, no matter what, from here at Rockwall Sportscenter. Have a great week, everybody. And don't forget, go Heath Hawks. See you later, everybody.